So yeah, my name's Daniel. I'm first generation born Australian to Colombian parents. So my cultural history is all Colombian. So my parents, I have two older sisters who were born in Colombia as well, and we bought my family before I was born. Uh, Came to Australia in 1986, I believe. So we've been here, or I suppose my parents and like I guess my immediate family have been here since that time. I have other uncles and aunties who are here as well. My oldest uncle was the first one of my dad's side to come to Australia, and he came in the early 70s.
Yeah, right. So did you
Yeah.
that makes me think of an interesting point. So me is I'm I'm very European Australian. Like I'm like sixth generation or seventh generation, I think, Australian. One side of my family traced it back to like the first fleet when they arrived. They were
Oh
convicts.
wow.
Yeah, they were convicts on the first ship.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so if I was to talk culturally, sort of similar way you are, you're
Mm.
looking at Scotland, Ireland, England, a little bit of Norwegian. That's
Hmm.
kind of the path of my, I guess, ethnic history or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Is there much of that for you in Colombia?
Yeah, so we actually traced more so on my mum's side. We traced it back to the Incas and the
Oh, no way.
yeah. So there we've got indigenous sort of like way back, very very very
Yeah,
very
of
far
course.
back, indigenous history in our
Heritage.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah, heritage. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's super
Um,
cool.
yeah, it's crazy. Like I didn't know about it till like recently. My mom told me about it, and we came from a specific tribe. We were like I guess or like they were one of the first sort of tribes to make like bags and like forms of I guess bags to carry things
Yeah, yeah,
around,
yeah.
big and small, through different means. Yeah. So
That's
like a
super
lot of a lot of the
interesting.
stuff from like moving big to small things across the continents back
Yeah.
then. Yeah, one of our tribes or what the tribe we like sort of came from, we're one of the first ones to do that. Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
then
super interesting.
yeah, that's sort of the cultural history is sort of based around my family, but we've all mainly been from Colombia. Like, I think if you were to trace it further back, I'd have to like specifically look into that. But I think you'd trace it further back, we sort of congregated from there. Like I've looked into sort of the Incas and how they sort of came about. And as most indigenous tribes, they like were the first owners of that land. So
Yeah, nice. That's super cool.
yeah.
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's a little bit of an outline.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's also interesting because you've only found that out recently. So I guess has that changed any of your thoughts or feelings or anything towards your heritage at all? Or
Not really. Like I think it's more so it's strengthened it more so.
yeah,
Like I don't think I've never really lent towards a dislike of my heritage or culture.
yep,
It's always been towards the pride, I suppose, to a certain like for lack of a better word,
yeah,
pride in the
yep,
culture. And that's definitely like honed in and sort of cultivated from my parents,
yeah,
and how they sort of brought me up into this culture. Because
yeah.
being first generation born in Australia, you don't get the full cultural experience of living in Colombia and being born and raised over there. So
Do you still feel and your sort of family dynamic is different to mine?
very much so, yeah. And so
Yeah,
that's the other thing, right? So that's in turn of what I was saying with my parents and cultivating that culture in me. That my home life was all Colombia. Like
yeah, it felt
my
very
parents would speak.
Colombian.
Yeah, like like they want to instill that sense of like I guess national pride and cultural pride
Yep.
to the point of our household they only speak Spanish. When I was a kid, they would play Spanish music. we would consistently speak to like various uncles and aunties over there, cousins. They would tell us about Colombia, the food, the people, animals,
A lot.
just everything to make sure that we, or at least more specifically myself, understand where they and my family heritage and history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool because so from history kind of influence to me, not to the degree that you have, because obviously I'm not first generation, I'm seventh generation or whatever. But I grew up with a lot of like understanding where my last name came from and the clan that it came from. I've got the tartan patch that comes
cool.
like that's specifically for your clan, the crest of arms and things like that. Cool. So it's like
where specifically is the crest of arms from?
It's from the Armstrong clan's from the Borderlands, which is like the edge of England and Scotland. So we're
cool.
Yeah, so we're Scottish.
Yeah,
I would definitely say if you had to make me, I would identify as Scottish. If that if that was kind of like an ultimatum question. So I've been to the castle in Scotland and stuff. It's pretty cool. Like they've got like
that's really cool.
All the different sort of stuff, but it's quite distant for me because obviously I'm an Australian raised by Australians.
Yep.
Who were raised by Australians. So it's interesting. That's interesting, like sort of counterbalance on the experiences because you'll continue to be influence your children in Colombian fashion, like I'm sure your sisters will. But it will get less and less over time because you know less and less, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah. And I think that I don't know if curiosity is bred into your children. It's an interesting sort of like take to think whether curiosity is a term that would, or like a thing that would be like my peak of curiosity would continue on through my children and my children's children and my children's children. Like
and like will they want to go to Colombia and things like that?
And that's the interesting thing. Like I think we'd want to upkeep that, and I think you'd have to sort of, like you said, like I would do exactly what my parents did, and I would hope that my kids would do the same if I instill that sense of like cultural pride,
Yeah, for sure. Well, if it makes you feel any better, three of the four of us, which are the only overseas, have all gone back to Scotland and generally been interested in the whole sort of family heritage and lineage and stuff like that. So we've all kind of naturally had our own experiences of having value for it.
And actually, come to think of it now, I feel like maybe curiosity is definitely something that can be cultivated as well. It can be like put into people's minds and a sense of like, you've spoken about this for years as a kid. Like, when am I ever going to see this place, or what's going on with this place? Like I need to get a sense of identity from where you come from and where your parents have come from and where their parents have come from, and sort of like that sense of